Hello and welcome to the next part of our life. Last time we built sandcastles and we had a bit of conflict between Kove and Chilo. So, well, let's just see how the next events will go. Let's choose long day next. It was another scorching summer day, the kind when no sooner had you finished one cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Chilo. This didn't happen much, especially since Culver had arrived. Without Lizzie around, Chilo looked at you for all the answers. It made you feel... Hmm. I guess it depends on how long I've been put in this situation. Let's say pleased for now. Let's just assume this is just one day. You might not be in the double digits like your sister, but you was only 7. Being the oldest and getting to be the leader was a nice change of pace. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing. Something sweet, something like... an ice cream cone. Nothing beat a classic creamy scoop of ice cream on a day like this. There was nothing like that to be found at home, you knew that without needing to look. Your moms didn't keep sweets in the house. Outside, there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but there were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. I will probably just sigh. As much as you really wanted that treat, it wasn't going to happen. What's wrong? I want an ice cream cone. Shiloh had been draped over the sofa, perked up. Yeah. That sounds good. We don't have any here and I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any. Shiloh rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins, plus one stray button. You set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1, you announced this to Chilo. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he'd been watching you expectantly. It's a start. Just a bit more and you could, depending on the price, get 2 scoops? Chilo beamed at you. We'll need to find some more. Okay. The two of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and secured the back of drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross. Bent paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust or sandy crumbs. But every so often one of you would strike silver or bronze, and add it to the growing pile of coins. What a cliché place to search for coins. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the two of you finished pooling your finds. Chilo held his breath as you counted the coins once again. $2, $2.53 and 2 buttons. You didn't know when the second button had decided to join the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough? You figured he knew the answer, but you appreciated him recognizing your authority on financial and ice cream matters. You straightened up before making your pronouncement. Yeah, we got enough. You could now afford something at the shops. Just one thing, but that was infinitely better than none. Chilo clapped in his hands. Yay! The two of you dashed outside. The promise of sugar, I don't know that word, buoyed you onto your destination where, breathless but happy, you stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed to the funds to get the treat. He seems to notice your pause. Aren't you getting an ice cream cone? Chilo asked, as though he was entirely separate from the decision, rather than someone with a stake in the outcome. Do you mind? Chilo cocked his head to the side. It was your idea, you should choose. I was always a child for compromise. It wasn't fair to you to be the only one to decide. When he'd been the main factor in making this happen, some of the money came directly from his backpack. What do you like? All of them. They're so good. You pressed further. But what do you really like? Popsicles or ice creams? Which is your favorite? Aw, it's so hard to pick, I don't know. Frustrated, you cut to the heart to the matter. You want me to choose? Yeah. And that was that. You got the dessert you wanted originally and hoped Chilo would actually like it too. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You lapped at the soft ice cream. The sweetness perked you up. You held it out to Chilo so you could take a turn. He shook his head. Child, you're making it very hard to make compromises if you don't want anything. You can finish it. He didn't want any? After everything he did to help get it? That was weird. I would hesitate. Because, you know... Yeah, I probably wouldn't jump directly on the offer, but also wouldn't force directly.
It's okay.
It's okay, Rina. You wanted it more than I do, and I'm really happy that we got to play today already. You finish it. Well, it wasn't worth arguing further. The frozen treat was being worn away by the sun and starting to tickle dangerously towards your fingers. If you waited much longer, then neither of you would be getting to eat it. Alright, thanks. The two of you began to head back home as you ate. You offered the treat once more to Shiloh, but he refused again. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say what he felt, or was afraid to. Actually didn't really... Child me probably wouldn't have thought much about that. Only thing that mattered was that... yeah, was compromise, really. Since it really wouldn't have been my problem, so to say, especially not as a child. So yeah. Shiloh was the only person who acted that way around you, so it was him rather than something wrong with you. You could ask him about it, but if he couldn't give an opinion on something like what treat to get, then he wasn't going to be open about this. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There had been good times, and there had been confusing ones. You were positive on one thing at least. The treat was delicious, and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizon as you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two very familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Culver. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them, just as you saw the tears on Culver's face. Oh no. You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. Once there, you... There's only one option to take here. There's nothing in this picture that shows the direct cause, so carefully ask about what happened. Without a time machine, the only way you were going to find out what was by asking the witnesses. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Carver's aid. You wanted to hear the story. Carver, what happened? Rina, I got yelled at. He took a deep, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Ah, sorry. Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Carver couldn't have. They're like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. Ugh. It didn't matter if they were really nice like Carver. Yeah, Lizzie said... Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction. I forgot which voice I gave you. I'm sorry, girl. I was helping. That's cool. Is there anything I can do? No, I'm just gonna stay away. Or you could teach them a lesson. There was a devilish glint in her eyes. What? You should ding-dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It would be great, 'cause they're so slow. They'll never catch you. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again. Valid.
You're just saying that because you're a chicken.
That's mean. Don't peer pressure people into doing shit they don't want. Carver glared, but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you. You're not a chicken, are you? I was never the kid to fall for peer pressure, actually. I was immune to it by the sheer force of being very afraid of being yelled at. So I would rather just... I'd rather just avoid them. You looked at the house. Behind those closed doors lurked two beings, rich in years but poor in patience. Maybe they deserved retaliation, maybe they didn't, but that punishment wouldn't be coming from you. It was safer to stay away from them, especially since Cover took their outbursts too hard. I'm not doing it either. Another chicken to the coop for the coop. This is a hen house now. And how about we all play chicken? I played chicken as a child. If we're chickens, you're lizard, Lizzie. She wagged her tongue at his face. Still better than a bird brain, chicken. The corner door opened, revealing one of the two culprits. The old man's wizened face was set in a scowl, which was to say he looked exactly like he always did when you saw him. Maybe that was his normal face. "What are you kids doing loitering outside my house?" Or maybe he was always in a just terrible mood. "Nothing." "Nothing." He repeated the word as if it was the greatest crime anyone could commit. "Nothing good, more like get lost." It wasn't as if he'd owned the space outside the house, but Cover's eyes, still red from the earlier tears, were wide and you thought it would be best to heed the old man's command. Lizzie took off, with Chilo immediately trailing after her without so much as a glance back in your direction. So much for your friendship. You waved your arm at Cover, summoning him to follow you, and ran after Lizzie. The old man's hollers propelled you off from the street to the sanctity of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. You flopped down, the blades of the grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin. "Hey, Carver." Carver lifted his head. "I told you there were mean grandparents around here." Carver rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Chilo, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you always knew you would be second fiddle again to Chilo once Lizzie came around. It always went like that. Ah, yes, that feeling. I would feel a bit sad about it. I do. I have felt the pain as a child of friends leaving you for cooler people. And I really didn't like that. But it's yeah, it would be more sad and frustrating in this situation now. You had been hoping the two of you might have become closer, but you had to let it go. He was happy where he was. There were other things to attend to anyway. You wiggled closer to Corvette. He had calmed down for the most part and was inspecting the flower. His fingers pinched the stem and tilted the white petals towards him. "That's a puppy." Carver glanced at you in acknowledgement, then back to the flower. "And the type of puppies on this hill have the name White Linen Puppy, Mom told me." He quirked a smile. "That's funny." He ran a finger around the edges of the petals. "It doesn't feel like cloth. You would need a lot of them to make anything." He nodded and released the delicate plant. Evaluation complete. This is my favorite this is my favorite kind of flower, but I don't know what it was called. Thanks. Oh boy. You know, puppies are actually my favorite too, though it's red puppies, not... I didn't know there were white ones. So I guess I'll just be like, it's mine too. Do I also really like buttercups? At least I think that's what they're called in English. Butterblumen in German. And that's similar enough, I think. No, let's just say it's mine too. Carver's smile widened as he looked at you. Cool. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick frow you curled under the cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. Interesting choices. Let's say just dolphin. I was never a dolphin kind of girl, but... You saw a dolphin leaping through the sky. You nudged Carver and pointed to it. Look! A dolphin! Carver joined you in gazing skywards. Animated CG! Yeah, yeah, I see it. Really? No, but I like dolphins. Hey. He chuckled at your reaction. All the sunlights faded from the sky, and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide. Let's go to the beach. There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Carver would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You... Just go along with the others. The beach wouldn't necessarily happen where you chose to go next, but if that was what the others wanted, then you weren't going to spoil the fun. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sand castles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been only 2 hours earlier. The 4 of you kicked your shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. The waves tickled your feet. I wonder what would happen. I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything. That would be bad for the fish.
Jeez.
I didn't see anyone would do it. Jeez, you don't have to be so serious about anything. You're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. It would hurt the fishes. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. You'd never heard Lizzie use that word before. Mommy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off, have candles, and I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom coming to pick you up anyway? Not for a while, she's busy. What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about? You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed up by the waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your moms. It's okay, I'm like Lizzie and Rina. I don't have a dad. I don't have 2 moms, I just have one. She's really great. Oh, sorry, I only have 1 or 2. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad with me.
Sorry.
I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Carver nodded. Nah. I probably would have just shut my trap. You couldn't come up with something you thought would make the conversation any less awkward, so you kept quiet. It was safer that way. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sudden sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Carver joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Carver's spray with a grin. Concerning the circumstances, I probably wouldn't want to get wet, really, so make a run for it. You were already too dirty and wet for comfort, and nothing had happened there would feel as good as getting dry. You got out of the water before anyone could catch you again. Perching on a rug, you scraped the wet sand from your legs as you watched the others. The sand came away in thick chunks at first, like clay, but where it had been thinner it had already dried and clung to your skin. Carver and Lizzie were relentless, while Shiloh mostly just dodged. Shiloh's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first into the ground. Oopsie daisy. Well, that would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain, as you all hurried over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head, and his soaked clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it. That was crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over.
You dumbo.
Way to go, Shiloh, you dumbo. Let's offer him help. Shiloh didn't take your outstretched hand. After a moment, you dropped it. Lizzie was too busy snickering to notice and held her hand to Shiloh too. He reached over and took it. Slowly, he started to pull himself from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. It's karma. The water rolled over the water rolled over them.
Sorry.
What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low? There's no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose and pretend it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, you did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Carver from laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. You four made the journey back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake. Damp clothes may have weighed down some of the group, but your spirits were high. Your arms swung side to side as a cool breeze followed past. Your moms were outside chatting to Carver's dad. We're back! Your mom's faces fell as they took in the state you were all in, ranging from messy to soaked.
No.
Elizabeth, is that all you have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach back with you. They certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you want him to be for the long drive home, cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant that she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Carver's matted hair. You've been out making memories, Buckle. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Carver used a slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened as he noticed even that had gotten wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could had found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun. That might be right, kids. What can you do? Come on. Carvel, let's go get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to have to be reset. Carvel winced at the thought.
Okay.
That boy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Carver up from the ground. Ultimately holding Carver against his chest, sound was already transferring from Carver to him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Carver protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble.
Take care.
Good night, Carver. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Night, Moon family, and Shiloh too. Resigned to his fate, Carver twisted his body to his dad's arms in order to turn around and wave goodbye. You beamed as you reached up and waved your hand in the air. Good night.
Fine.
Well, we better do what we can to fix you guys up too. Come on, everybody inside. I want you to march right up to the downstairs bathroom.
Ugh.
Yes, Mom. Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on a mat this time. That won't do much good tonight. Sitting in an old beach towel your mommy had found, you waited in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go to your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. Felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. It was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Mrs. Fields had come to collect them a while ago. It was a little bit of a funny experience seeing him without a hat on for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go to the tube next. It wasn't a bubble bath that she had hoped. It was a no fun allowed cleanup session. At least that's what she had claimed. Not much longer would be your turn. When the bath was done, you would have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad there weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea. Alright. Which one do you want to do next? But, well, anyway, let's end this episode here for now. Then, let's say we'll do the Fireflies next and Grown Up as the finale of Step 1. So, until then, bye!